Tom, I wanted to start real quick and get your take on the fiscal update provided by our finance minister, Eric Girard, yesterday. I want to play the shortest part of that clip because this is a bit of an eye-opener, Brian.
We're seeing the inflation surprise has generated $14 billion more of revenues, and we're giving $13 billion back.
So we talk a lot about inflation. Boy, the government did pretty well. $14 billion, according to him. That's what inflation helped our revenues.
Yeah, the inflation surprise. It's actually a very clever line. He's being smart about it because we're giving the money back mostly to the most vulnerable in our society. So it's true that the CAQ is what would generally be described as a right-wing government, pro-business, less on the social side. But every time they have to make a decision, they really come down, very much like everything else in Quebec. You come down on the side of more government spending and taking care of the people who need it the most. Who need it the most? Poor seniors, the ones who have got a fixed income. Their pensions are not going to be going up, and they're in an awful bind. So he's offering more help there, and I think that the province is on the right track doing that.
The idea that we took, I hate to say it that way because you're right, it's kind of clever to say it that way. We all complained about inflation, everything costs more, and the government's been sitting back collecting all this money just based on those heightened taxes that people are paying because of it. Where's the other $1 billion going, Tom, that they're not giving us? I'm curious.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The same thing.
I'm going to keep my eye on pheasant hunters.
It's expensive to buy those clothes, those Austrian pheasant hunting clothes.
And
yes,
private islands.
They all look so good in their litter house.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Indeed. Shall we move on to Brittany Griner? So, very moving footage that we saw of her coming back. Biden, of course, speaking. Great that this has happened. Not so great, perhaps, about the prisoner swap and who they let go, rather, and also that we have a Canadian-born American citizen who's still over there. Tom, your thoughts?
I think you've hit all the bases, Natasha, and I think that the most important thing to retain is we don't want to see this become the new norm in international affairs. So the Americans have some guy that the Russians have wanted back for a while. All of a sudden, it's true. She broke the laws. Nobody's really ever contested that. But she was definitely being held for a very long time, precisely so that she could become one of the pawns in this trade-off. And we went through the same thing with Wang Mengzhou, who was held by Canada at behest of Donald Trump, who was holding her for political reasons, and we should never have gone along with that. Biden did the right thing. All the charges were finally dropped, the last ones this week, in fact. But it's going to be a really dangerous world that we live in. If you can just get snatched in another country and held until somebody that your country is holding that they want back will be let go. So I think that long term, this is not a very good thing.
Yeah, certainly cut down on Russian tourism, I would think. So
I've had the great fortune to travel to Russia, and the nicest people in the world. It's such a spectacular place. But I don't think I'll be going back.
Yeah.
How big a role, Tom, do you think that celebrity played here? Because Paul Whelan's been there for 4 years, right? Whereas Brittany Griner, I think it was a matter of 9 months. And don't get me wrong, 1 day is too long to be held in a Russian jail. But do you think celebrity played a huge part here?
Yeah, and politics. I mean, who knows Mr. Whelan? But she's as you say, she's somebody who's well known, and she had a very different story to tell from his. The other guy, it's always been a bunch of question marks about what he was really up to. So in this case, basketball player. Come on, back off. Yep. So yes, let her fly home, and everybody in Texas is going to be glad to have her back. All 6'9" of her.
Now, I want to get to this story on a first ever French language commissioner. I'm not sure who's in charge of anything anymore with respect to the French language or English language. This was supposed to be a slam dunk for the CAQ, and it's turned into anything but?
Yeah, we were keeping an eye on this one. We knew it was coming down the pipe. So this was one of these things where you want 3/4 of the National Assembly voting to make it more legitimate. Unfortunately for Quebec, Legault now has 3/4 of the seats. So he doesn't actually need any other parties with him, although he's got that massive 3-vote support from the Parti Québécois. What a surprise there. So they're putting up a philosopher, and I'm using the word loosely because it's in the news stories, named Benoit Dubreuil. Now, he's an author of an essay that is, I'll translate the title the best I can, The Imaginary Cure, Why Immigration Will Not Save Quebec. Now, what Quebec has to be saved from is not clear in the title, and this is polemicism. This is, Quebec has to be saved from 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 Qu a position. It's an opinion. What we needed here was somebody who was going to look at the cold, hard facts. We've already got Legault cherry-picking factoids. He'll come up with one piece of information and say, language spoken at home in the city of Montreal. Then you point out, well, actually, in the greater Montreal census area, 90% of people can hold a conversation in French. Back off. No. This is an existential threat. Those were his exact words. This is an existential threat to go back into French. So putting this guy in there removes all credibility. There used to be something called the French Language Council, the Conseil de la Langue Française, and that was a body often with academics, high-level people, doing analysis, looking at the numbers from the census, trying to give the government the best advice they could. That's an objective thing, but this is anything but objective, but it's pure François Legault. He's been banging the language drum since the day he got elected. The anti-immigrant themes that he and Jean Boulet and others exploited during the campaign got him reelected. He got 41% of the vote, and he's holding on, and he's convinced that by staying with these anti-immigrant and anti-minority, and in this case, and anti-Anglophone themes, that it's a winner for him. It's depressing because I can think of no place other than Donald Trump's America where you go after people, religious minorities and the like. So we've had our equivalent of the Muslim ban and everything else, and it's just something that people who don't have any principles but understand public opinion polls and public attitudes are taking advantage of.
It's interesting. I read your piece on that, calling François Legault out for what you just sort of detailed now. And I think to myself, okay, let's assume that what he's saying is in fact not accurate. And I'm being kind in saying that. How do you even begin to challenge someone other than writing an opinion piece? I mean, there are numbers out there. There are people who will tell you that, he's not in fact using the numbers that are correct. He's using the numbers that are to his advantage. How do you even bring that up and not have him look at you and say, you know what, you don't know what you're talking about?
Well, he can't say that because the 90% figure is a real figure, and it was actually put in a piece recently in the press by a real expert named Pierre Corbet out of Laval University in Quebec City. And what he does is he knocks down, these supposed experts like the one that they've just named here. He goes after them. There was another guy who wrote a thing, Bill 101's been a total failure. No, it hasn't. Immigrants have been sending their kids to French school for 45 years now, and the face of Quebec has really, really changed, and stop saying stuff like that. But you can get away with saying it because the expert is sitting in his office in Laval University and will publish a couple of learned papers, which, by the way, Pierre Corbet has done, eviscerating these guys. But what makes the front page of the papers is, we'll send somebody up and down St. Catherine Street for 3 days, and if they can find some poor person in one store in the back store who can't speak French, that makes the front page. And so that's what we've been living for the past 3 years. So the only way to do it is with facts, and you fight back, and you fight back, and you fight back. Now, the biggest problem we've got in the English-speaking community right now is the fact that the Liberals are doing nothing. Bill C-13 is a disaster. And people, that I really quite like, somebody like Anthony Housefather is simply in a state of denial. He's denying that Trudeau is doing what he is manifestly doing. And so if the people who normally represent the English-speaking community won't even understand that the only person who can send Bill 21 or Bill 96 to the Supreme Court for a review, what we make a reference case, is Justin Trudeau. But Housefather won't even admit that. He's got all sorts of explanations. He talks around it. He said, what's more complicated? And there was this or that or the other case on the notwithstanding clause. They're always looking for an excuse to do nothing because they don't want to upset François Legault. But look what we've got. We've got a guy who is going after minorities constantly, who is loading the dice now with somebody who's going to go into that job with preconceived notions. How is he ever supposed to do an objective job of being a commissioner if he's already completely one-sided? And that's the place we're in Quebec right now. So to answer your earlier question, what can you do? I do what I can. I meet with people all the time. I'm on French news. I debate about this. I just say the same thing in French on French radio and TV that I say in English, and I fight back constantly. And I did it again today. So that's my contribution. I'll let others tell you what they're up to.
Yeah, I just worry when you say that, and I agree with you, and I've said as much before as well. I just think the attitude of this government, and even of opposition parties, is anytime there's a dispute or a questioning of that French language breakdown, be it mother tongue or anything else, and you say, as you just mentioned, this particular person, Monsieur Courbet, out at the Université de Laval, they will simply say to you, well, you have your experts and we have ours.
No,
and that's the end of the conversation, Tom.
No, they don't have any. And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't say one thing. Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois and Québec Solidaire deserve kudos because they came out strongly today against this recommendation.
Mm-hmm, yes.
They're staking out turf that the Liberals should actually be paying some attention to because the Liberals don't know where they are right now at all. Mark Tanguay talks about his own nationalism as if that mattered. Let him run for the leadership if he wants to put his stamp on it, but he can't do it from the place that he's in now. So right now, the only party that's standing up strongly defending new Canadians, immigrants here in Quebec, talking against François Legault's narrow-minded views and his ethnic nationalism, the only guy standing up to him right now, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois of Québec Solidaire.
Okay.
I'm glad that they're standing up to him on Dubreuil, but however, they are the ones who think that Bill 96 does not go far enough.
Oh no! Like don't.
There's always something. Yeah.
This is not a general statement here. This is a specific thing about the nomination of this commissioner.
All right, Tom. Thank you. Appreciate it. You have a good
weekend.
Take care.